In a world where magic defines destiny, there is no room for weakness, because power here is not a blessing, but a law, a force measured at birth, judged by bloodline, and enforced without mercy by traditions older than the kingdom itself. Those born strong are lifted up and celebrated, trained from childhood to rule and command, while those born weak are ignored, left behind by a system that has no patience for failure. And those born without magic are treated as if they should never have existed at all, reduced to quiet shadows at the edge of society, lives measured not by potential, but by inconvenience. This is not a story about heroes, and it is not a tale of prophecy or glory. This is the story of a mistake, a boy the world tried to erase, and a power that was never meant to wake. His name is Kael. From the moment Kael entered the Royal Arcane Academy, it was clear that he did not belong. The academy was built for prodigies, for children whose magic overflowed before they could control it, heirs of ancient families whose names alone commanded respect and fear. Kael had none of that. He possessed no visible mana, no elemental affinity, no spark, no resonance, no measurable trace of arcane potential. Every test ended the same way, a brief, uncomfortable silence followed by restrained laughter. Students whispered when he walked past, never loudly, never openly, just enough for him to hear and remember his place. Teachers did not insult him or strike him. They simply stopped expecting anything from him at all, which hurt far more than cruelty ever could. Indifference became his punishment, and invisibility became his role. Kael learned to endure. He learned to keep his head down, to move quietly through the halls, to accept mockery without response, because every time he tried to fight back, the punishment only became worse. He learned when to speak and when to stay silent, when to step aside and when to disappear entirely. And yet, every night when the academy finally slept, Kael felt it. A pressure deep in his chest, a weight behind his eyes, a presence that never rested. Something inside him was awake, watching, waiting. Kael did not understand it. He only knew it had always been there, silent but heavy, like a locked door buried deep in his soul, one that refused to open no matter how hard he tried to ignore it. Rowan understood something else entirely. Rowan was everything Kael was not. Gifted, admired, untouchable. Where Kael struggled to summon even the faintest spark, Rowan reshaped the air itself with ease, his magic precise, controlled, overwhelming. Students gathered to watch Rowan train. Teachers praised him openly without restraint, and when Rowan looked at Kael, it was not hatred he felt, but contempt, the kind reserved for something broken beyond repair. To Rowan, Kael was not a rival, not an obstacle, not even a threat. He was a flaw in the system, an error that should have been corrected long ago. The day of the public evaluation arrived without warning. Students gathered around the courtyard, excitement heavy in the air, while teachers observed from above, already predicting the outcome before it began. Kael stood across from Rowan, the stone beneath his feet cold and unforgiving, the result obvious before the first spell was even cast. Rowan did not hesitate. Magic exploded across the ground, the courtyard cracked, and the crowd cheered as Kael was thrown backward like debris, then again and again, pain spreading through his body as stone pressed into his back and the sky above felt impossibly distant. Laughter echoed around him, sharp, relentless, and absolute, drowning out everything else, reducing him to a spectacle for entertainment. Then, something changed. The laughter wavered. The air shifted. A fracture formed beneath Kael's hand, then another, then dozens more, spreading across the courtyard like veins of broken glass. The manor around him bent away, distorted by a force it did not recognize. Kael pushed himself up slowly, not screaming, not raging, simply standing as if the weight of the world had suddenly shifted. Rowan attacked again, confident and precise, and his magic shattered before reaching its target. The courtyard fell silent. Students froze. Teachers stood motionless. For the first time since Kael had arrived at the academy, the world looked at him without laughter. And in that silence, something ancient stirred, something sealed long ago, something that remembered what it was. Kael did not understand what had changed, only that the world felt different the moment he stood up. The air no longer pressed against him. It moved away, as if unwilling to come too close. The stone beneath his feet cracked without effort, thin fractures spreading outward in every direction. He did not feel anger or rage, only a strange calm, as if something deep inside him had finally decided to stop hiding. Rowan hesitated for the first time in his life, confusion flickering across his face, but instinct took over before doubt could settle. He attacked again, pouring more magic into the strike, sharper and heavier than before. The spell never reached Kael. It shattered in mid-air, breaking apart like glass striking an invisible wall. Silence fell over the courtyard, thick and unnatural. Students froze mid-breath, their excitement evaporating into fear. Teachers rose from their seats slowly, sensing something they did not want to name. Kael looked down at his hands, faint golden light slipping between his fingers like smoke. He did not know where it came from, only that it felt familiar, as if it had always belonged to him. The ground trembled again, stronger this time, and ancient symbols long buried beneath the courtyard began to glow through the cracks. These were not spells taught at the academy. They were not even written in any modern language. They were older than the school, older than the kingdom itself. Kael's body finally gave out moments later. The golden light vanished as quickly as it had appeared, and he collapsed to the stone. But the damage was already done. The instructors rushed forward, their expressions stripped of arrogance and certainty, replaced by something closer to fear. They recognized the markings beneath the ground. They had studied them in forbidden texts, spoken of them only in theory. A seal, not a curse, not a blessing, a containment. Kael was not weak. He had been locked. The decision was made immediately. Kael could not remain above ground, not after what everyone had seen. Guards were summoned, orders shouted, and students were driven away from the courtyard in a panic. Kael was lifted carefully, as if the instructors feared he might shatter if handled too roughly, and carried beneath the academy, past corridors most students never knew existed. Doors sealed behind them one by one as they descended deeper, the air growing colder, heavier, older with every step. The deeper they went, the more the academy reacted to Kael's presence. Lanterns flickered, runes embedded in the walls shifted color. Some glowed faintly gold before dimming again, as if testing him. The guards exchanged uneasy glances, but tightened their grip and continued forward. At the end of the passage lay a chamber sealed by massive stone doors, marked with symbols so ancient that even the instructors struggled to read them. This was the Forbidden Chamber, a place designed not to teach magic, but to contain it. The moment the doors opened, the chamber awakened. Crystals embedded in the walls lit up without command. The floor hummed softly beneath their feet. Kael's body began to rise from the guard's hands, slowly at first, then higher, suspended in mid-air as if gravity no longer applied to him. The instructors shouted for containment spells, but before any could be completed, symbols ignited beneath Kael, forming circles within circles, rotating gently like the gears of some colossal machine. Kael spoke. Just one word. Not in any language the instructors recognized, yet the chamber responded instantly. The runes flared brighter, aligning with one another, and the air vibrated as if acknowledging a long-forgotten authority. The seal inside Kael cracked, not violently, but deliberately, as though it had been waiting for the correct moment. Golden light poured from his chest, mixing with something brighter, purer, until the chamber was filled with a blinding glow. The instructors tried to stabilize him. Their magic bent and twisted, barely holding together in the presence of Kael's aura. Guards were forced back, shields rattling in their hands as pressure filled the room. Kael's body rotated upright, arms hanging loosely at his sides, his expression blank, almost peaceful. Runes spread across his skin, not burning him, but engraving themselves into his very being. This was not an awakening. It was recognition. The chamber itself began to lift, stone pillars cracking free from the floor, floating slowly around Kael as if caught in a silent storm. Another word escaped his lips, louder this time, and the entire room shook in response. The ceiling reacted, glyphs aligning above him, drawing power downward like a funnel. Energy gathered overhead, dense and unstable, threatening to collapse under its own weight. For a moment, it seemed as though everything would break. Then, just as suddenly, the energy folded inward. The light receded, the runes dimmed, the chamber descended back into stillness. Kael fell. Gently. The seal stabilized once more, not broken, not intact, but changed. The instructors approached cautiously, their understanding of the world fundamentally shaken. Kael lay unconscious, breathing steadily, no longer glowing, yet undeniably different. Whatever slept inside him had not been released, only stirred. As they prepared to carry him away, one of the instructors whispered the truth they had all realized, but none dared to speak aloud. The seal inside Kael was never meant to suppress power. It was meant to delay something that once ruled the world. And Kael was not its victim. He was its return. Kael drifted in and out of consciousness as he was carried from the forbidden chamber, fragments of sound and sensation bleeding together without shape or meaning. He felt movement, voices echoing through stone corridors, and the faint pull of something inside him slowly settling back into place, like a massive door closing just enough to hide what lay beyond it. When he finally opened his eyes, he was no longer underground. Soft light filtered in through tall windows, casting pale reflections across white stone walls. The air was quiet, heavy with wards meant to suppress magic. Kael lay on a narrow bed, his body weak, his thoughts scattered, his chest aching with a dull, unfamiliar weight. Instructors stood nearby, speaking in low voices. They stopped the moment they realized he was awake. No one accused him. No one mocked him. They looked at him the way one looks at a storm after surviving it, with awe, fear, and uncertainty tangled together. Kael tried to sit up, but the effort sent a sharp pain through his limbs. One of the instructors gently pressed him back down, telling him to rest, telling him everything was under control. Kael did not believe them. He could still feel it, faint but undeniable, a presence beneath his thoughts, patient and aware. News of the incident spread faster than any spell. Students whispered in corners, rumors mutating with every retelling. Some said Kael had summoned ancient magic. Others claimed he was possessed, cursed, or chosen by something older than the academy itself. Guards were posted outside his room day and night, not to protect others from him, but to protect him from everyone else. For the first time since his arrival, Kael was no longer invisible, and that frightened him more than the beatings ever had. Rowan did not come to see him. Kael heard his name mentioned only once, spoken quietly by an instructor who believed Kael was asleep. Rowan had been confined, questioned, stripped of privileges, not as punishment, but as precaution. Whatever Kael had become, the academy could no longer afford unchecked arrogance. Power had revealed a limit, and Rowan had found it. Days passed. Kael's strength returned slowly, but the feeling inside him never left. It did not grow louder. It did not push. It simply waited, observing his thoughts with silent attention. Sometimes, when Kael closed his eyes, he saw fragments of places he had never been. Towering structures of light, endless halls carved from something that was not stone, skies split by symbols instead of stars. He did not know if these were memories or warnings. The instructors finally returned with answers, or what passed for answers. Kael was told that the seal placed upon him was ancient, older than recorded history. It had not been designed by the Academy, nor by any kingdom that still existed. It was a construct meant to delay awakening, not prevent it. Someone, long ago, had chosen Kael as a vessel before he was even born. Whether that choice had been an act of desperation or design, no one could say. What they did know was this: the seal was weakening, not breaking, evolving. Kael was not losing control, he was gaining access. That truth changed everything. The Academy convened its highest council in secret. Kael was no longer treated as a student, but as a variable, a force that could not be ignored. Some argued he should be destroyed before the seal failed completely. Others believed he represented knowledge long thought lost. A few, more cautious than the rest, feared what might happen if the world learned the truth about him. Kael listened to none of it directly, but he felt the tension in every hallway, every whispered conversation that cut short when he passed. He was given freedom to move, but never alone. Every step he took was observed, measured, catalogued. The irony did not escape him. When he had been weak, no one cared where he went. Now that he was dangerous, everyone watched. One night, long after the Academy had fallen silent, Kael felt the presence stir more strongly than ever before. Not violently, not urgently. It felt almost curious. He rose from his bed and followed the sensation through the halls, past wards that parted at his approach without resistance. The Academy itself
He arrived
seemed
at a
uncertain
sealed
whether
door
to
he
stop
had never
him.
noticed before, marked with symbols that resonated painfully behind his eyes. As he reached out, memories flooded him, not his own, but ancient and vast. Empires rising, worlds bending, power wielded not as magic, but as command. His hand touched the door, and the seal inside him responded. Light traced the symbols. The door began to open. Kael stepped forward, not knowing what waited beyond, only certain of one thing. Whatever he was becoming could no longer be hidden, and the world would soon have to decide whether to kneel or resist. Kael did not hesitate as the sealed door opened before him. The moment he crossed the threshold, the world seemed to shift, as if he had stepped out of the Academy and into something far older, The chamber beyond was vast and silent, its walls etched with symbols that pulsed faintly in response to his presence. They were not spells, nor wards, but records. Fragments of a history erased so completely that even its language had been forgotten. As Kael moved forward, the markings brightened, reacting not to his will, but to what slept within him. The presence stirred again, closer now, clearer. It did not speak in words, yet Kael understood its intent with unsettling clarity. Long ago, it had ruled not through magic, but through authority, a force that bent reality itself without effort. Kingdoms had risen beneath it, worlds had aligned around it, and when it fell, it had been sealed away, divided, scattered, and hidden inside vessels chosen before they were born. Kael was not the first, but he was the one who had endured. Visions flooded his mind. Not dreams, not illusions, but memories carried across ages. He saw armies kneeling without being commanded, structures forming themselves from light and stone, skies reshaped by symbols instead of stars. He felt what it meant to exist beyond limitation, to command without casting, to decide rather than request. And beneath it all, he felt restraint, deliberate, patient, unbroken by time. The seal had not been a prison, it had been a safeguard, waiting for a world stable enough to survive what would return. Footsteps echoed behind him. Instructors entered the chamber cautiously, their confidence gone, replaced by something closer to reverence. They did not attempt to stop him. They already knew they could not. The academy itself seemed to withdraw, wards dimming, barriers dissolving as Kael stood at the chamber's center. He turned to face them, and for the first time, they did not see a powerless student, nor a dangerous anomaly. They saw inevitability. The presence withdrew slightly, settling once more beneath Kael's consciousness. Not sleeping, waiting. It had shown him what he needed to see, not to overwhelm him, but to prepare him. Kael understood then that this power would not consume him unless he surrendered to it completely. Control was not about strength, it was about choice. The council met again before dawn. Their arguments were quieter now, more fearful. Some spoke of exile, others of containment, a few of execution. But no decision was reached, because no decision could be enforced. Kael had crossed a threshold none of them could follow. The seal was changing him, slowly, deliberately, reshaping not just his power, but his place in the world. By sunrise, the academy had already begun to change. Runes were rewritten, protocols abandoned. What had once been law was now suggestion. Students watched Kael from a distance, no longer whispering insults, but questions. Fear had replaced ridicule, and fear carried respect with it. Rowan remained absent, his legend quietly dismantled by a single moment of helplessness. Strength had found its limit, and it had not belonged to him. Kael stood alone at the academy's highest balcony, watching the city awaken beyond the walls. For the first time, the world did not feel impossibly large. It felt fragile. He could sense it now. The way reality bent subtly around him. The way certain paths opened while others quietly closed. He did not reach for the power. He did not need to. It responded to his awareness alone. He understood what the presence wanted, and what it feared. It did not seek domination. It sought correction. The world had drifted too far from its foundations, building systems on borrowed magic, mistaking power for control. What would return through Kael was not a tyrant, but a force that would reset the balance, violently, if necessary. Kael exhaled slowly. The choice would be his: to reveal the truth and watch the world resist it, or to remain hidden and let the decay continue. For now, he chose silence.